Submarine, chapter number 10. A girl fell from the sky, the emcee's daughter in this case. Blue, as far as one could see. A clear sky stretched into the horizon and the sunlight poured down brilliantly. However, it wasn't that hot, and the climate made it easy to spend the time here. The gentle breeze blowing time after time felt good. Only there wasn't a single thing, no matter how much one looked at the surrounding, which made one feel a little lonely. To begin with, that feeling wasn't something that could be helped with. It was in the middle of the ocean after all. At the very center of the ocean was a ship swaying, drifting about the wave. Well, it wasn't known whether it is okay to call it a ship. After all, people of this world wouldn't be able to recognize it as a ship. As for the reason, the ship body was a black, lustrous, streamlined shape without a place for the passenger to broaden, unlike the normal ships. Normally, the body would also have the two small wing-like thingies on the both sides, creating a V-shaped and a screw-like rudder attached behind it. But only the things that could be seen as the devastated remain of them. It was smoothed out and original slightly flat orca-shaped shape can be seen. However, surely the people of this world would rather agree to call it a new kind of demonic beast rather than a ship. The orca-shaped ship was a submarine. Needless to say, it was Hajime's artifact, allowing its passenger to narrowly escape from death after being thrown into the magma in Garen Great volcano. In return, it was broken to the level of being majorly damaged. Lying above the floating submarine while it was being swayed by the wave, with both hands at the back of his head was Hajime sporting an extremely satisfied look. His artificial left arm, that was mailed after being attacked by the beam and was unable to move properly, had been fixed using the materials from the submarine and returned to its original form. However, the gimmicks installed couldn't be used. Hajime, how's your condition? While dozing off, cradled by the warm sunlight and the rocking wave, the hatch behind him suddenly opened. Yue popped her head out and asked about his condition worriedly. It was because Hajime had received huge damage from the beam, and because of the beam's toxin, the bones doesn't easily recover. There's no problem at all. All the wounds have already closed, but I feel it will need at least another day for complete recovery. More importantly, how's the thing on US side? You are considerably exhausted, right? I'm okay. Shia gave me her blood after all. Hajime's words of worries were joyfully answered by Yue, who got out from the hatch and came to Hajime's side, who was lying down in all four. Thus, with an extremely natural movement, she laid on the top of Hajime. Her soft butt was pressing up against the Hajime and stimulated him in a really bad place. Yue-san, why did you get on the top of me? Because Hajime is there? Although the answer was just like a certain mountaineer, with Yue's gaze was serious. Next, Hajime was attacked with a muttered, "Stay like that." Concealed with bewitchment as she flung her body, she licked Hajime's neck, bit him, and licked the blood that flowed out. Almost all the toxins had disappeared. It seems like there's no need to worry. Apparently, she licked the Hajime's blood to confirm how much beam toxin remained. Didn't I say there's no problem at all? But I couldn't help to worry. Our current location is also a problem. But I'm glad Hajime can rest easy. Well, yeah, it was truly a rapid development. I didn't know whether we were lucky or unlucky. Hajime, who was smiling wearily, made Yue frown with further eyebrows troubled. The two recalled how they got swallowed by the magma in Garen Great volcano during drifting until they got to where they are now, in the vast ocean. They had suffered a lot of misfortune that could be lamented on along the way, but it was happy and lucky thing they had survived. A kind of delicate mindset. After they were thrown into the magma and drifted underground, Hajime party were exposed to the swift current for the one full day. Because they couldn't always use the attracting force of Yue's absolute calamity to control the positions of the bodies, Hajime somehow managed to create a gravity stone using creation magic, producing a floating seat after much trial and error inside the stormy submarine. So, although the submarine kept producing sounds just like a toy crashing into the walls, the floating seats somehow managed to keep them away from the shaker-like situation. Following that, with Yue and Shia clinging onto his right and left, he spent the sleepless time lighted by the faint glow of the green light astern. Could it be we are going straight into the planet's mantle? Hajime began to question, accompanied with cold sweat. However, their underground travel onto the unknown finally ended. Hajime Party was attacked by the biggest impact they had felt until now. The tremendous impact broke through the defense of Vajra and damaged the submarine. Along with the impact, the submarine was blown away with a tremendous speed. Hurriedly reactivating the Vajra after the immense impact, Hajime questioned what happened and used the remote camera function from far side stern, installed even in the crossbeam to confirm the surrounding. Following that, the spectacle that entered his view was not of the red world filled with magma, but magma breathing like a snake and greatly boiling the rampaging sea. Apparently, Hajime was blown away by the so-called phreatomagnetic explosion. I don't think I pronounced it right, so bear with me. Okay, when they spouted from the submerged volcano. The impact damaged the hull, but fortunately the water didn't flood in, or maybe should be said as expected of Hajime's artifact. Narrowly escaping the death, Hajime Party was relieved to be able to return to the surface, but their suffering continued. After being dumbfounded from turning around and drowned by the eruption and then thrown away into the sea, the party immediately regained the control of the submarine and began their sailing. Both wings and stern were seriously damaged, but it was possible to sail by supplying the submarine with magic power. There was no other problem other than the fuel consumption rate was overwhelmingly worse compared to when the screw wings and stern could be used. Because it wouldn't be able to endure another eruption, Hajime Party hurriedly moved away, but the gigantic shadow followed the orca-shaped submarine. It was a gigantic squid-like creature with length 30 meters and more than 30 wingling tentacles. Its appearance was similar to that of a sea monster, the Kraken. The monster mercilessly attacked the submarine. Twinned by tentacles, the submarine was about to be crunched by its fangs that in the middle of its mouth. However, the monster was repelled by the submarine's weapon and the UA's magic. Nevertheless, it didn't end with even after they had repelled the Kraken-like monster. This time, they were attacked by a flocks of sharks. The sharks were a kind of demonic beast, annoying enemies that cooperated while shooting out water tornadoes. In the end, the ammunition inside the submarine had depleted and they could only rely on UA's magic. It was a situation where the UA used the magic power stored in the magic crystallization stone and sucked Shia's blood. Since Hajime had already lost a large amount of blood, they somehow managed to get away from while repelling the sharks, but they fought in Garen Great Volcano before, so Hajime's party was indeed exhausted all their energy. Although Shia didn't really do anything, she was collapsed from anemia due to offering her blood to Yue because it was the least she could do. Letting Yue and Shia rest, Hajime moved the submarine to the surface. They were in a location where there was only sea and the blue sky as far as I could reach, so they advanced towards the continent. Then, after sailing for a half day, due to calm climate and wave, Hajime halted the sub and rested, basking in the sunlight outside the sub. The development from conquering the Garen Gate volcano until present time was truly a rapid one. No matter what, it could be said that other pupils except Hajime Party wouldn't have been any possibility of surviving at all. It was alright for the Hajime to unconsciously want to shout, "What a bad luck!" unlike a certain user of gender equal punch. How's Shia? Although he was looking at a distance, Hajime asked Yue, who is currently seated on top of him. Shia is still sleeping. I drank a lot, so she probably won't wake up for a while. Yue's reason was for the amount of converted to magic power wasn't inefficient compared to when she sucked Hajime's blood. It was because the amount converted was several times more when Hajime, her partner of blood pact, than Shia, who wasn't. After picking the partner for blood pact, the effect of blood conversion from other pupil lowered while the effect becomes several times bigger when it was the contracted partner. I see. Well, it's better for her to rest now. Anyway, we didn't know our current location, much less about the time needed to reach the continent. We also don't know what will happen, so it's better to take a rest to take the time to recover. Hmm. The sea was at the west of the continent, so they only needed to head to the east to reach the continent. There was no problem because they could create water from magic and catch fish for meals. Things like fishes wouldn't be able to escape from the submarine and magic, so even though they were in the middle of the vast ocean, it wasn't a situation to be panicked about. Also, as long as they can confirm their location using the stars at night, they could determine the course towards the continent. As such, they rested when they should. The warm sunlight and the breeze made Hajime relaxed. Watching Hajime with narrowed eyes, Yue-san, what are you doing? Making Hajime energetic. Before he was aware of it, Yue exuded a bewitching aura and moved slowly. She seemed to want to energize him, but although she didn't say which part, when Hajime saw Yue's blood eyes, he didn't even think of resisting. Hajime has become energetic. Wait, to do in the middle of ocean? Well, if it was me, from half a year ago, it wouldn't even imagine it. In place, they felt safe about while they were glad they were to be alive. Hajime and Yue shoved each other's body. For a while, the submarine was shaken by the something other than the small waves. Seems you've been enjoying yourselves. After being refreshed from various ways, they returned inside the submarine and were stared at by Shia. You are awake? How's your condition? Acting as if nothing's happened, but I'm thankful for the worry. My drowsiness was blown away thanks to the intense shaking, the very entranced voices, and those fresh sounds. My physical condition is excellent from the energy converted from emptiness and loneliness. Yeah, with this, I will be attacked too, or so I thought. I see then, that's good. Hajime was truly glad that Shia recovered, but since he didn't show any feelings of guilt, it made Shia groan with teary eyes. Her appearance made Hajime, though thought he ignored her too much. Smiling wearily, he told her to make some space and sat beside her. Walking up without anyone in broad and hearing the sounds of Hajime and Yue making love from the opened hatch made Shia truly lonely, and thus she hugged Hajime, who sat beside her tightly. Yue also sat beside Shia, not Hajime's, and patted Shia's head to comfort her. While the two were comforting Shia, Hajime supplied his magic power to start the submarine, advancing to the east. From time to time, they were attacked by the demonic beast, but they were repulsed by Yue's magic, and they advanced for one full day. Having advanced through under the starry skies, Hajime finally caught the sight of the land when the morning sunshine brightened the world. According to the position of the star they saw last night, the party was currently located in the north of the ocean. As such, as long as they moved towards the left side over the land, they would surely come to see the harbor along with Ocean and Garen Great Desert. Relieved from seeing the land, they advanced south for 2 days. When the sun reached the zenith on the second day, the party stopped the submarine to take a break and had a lunch aboard the submarine while being swept by the wave. The menu was, of course, the fishes they caught in the sea. Using the light clad to roast the food made him recall the time he was in Abyss. The party didn't have any cooking utensil or any seasoning because of the treasure box was entrusted to Tio. Even so, the fish the three happily ate while absent-mindedly watching the horizon was quite the delish. The location and the atmosphere were being compensating for the seasoning. Those who lived in the sea or opened a stall during the festival, all of them were using this kind of compensation. And when Shia was enjoying the roasted unknown fish, her rabbit ear suddenly stood straight, then began to move restlessly. Following that, Hajime also noticed the presence of something. Filling his mouth with a fish of about 60 centimeters in length, he moved his gaze. Surrounding the submarine, several people appeared from inside the sea and thrust their tridents. There were about 20 people. All of them have emerald green hair and ears that look like fan-shaped fan. By their looks, they were the group of Sea-Dweller tribe. Their eyes were overflowed with caution and dangerously narrowed. Among them, a man faced Hajime with thrust spear and asked him, "Who are you? Why are you here? And what's with this thing you are adding on?" Hajime was busy chewing the fish that filled his mouth to the point of his cheeks swelling. He didn't plan to opposing them, so he wanted to answer quickly. But unfortunately, the fish he was currently eating was chewy and large. It took some time before he could swallow it. Hajime took a serious pause, but considering how he calmly ate his meal, even though his spear were pointed to him while being surrounded, made others see him as nothing but an impudent fellow. Veins appeared on the forehead of the man who asked him. Anyhow, even if there were their doubts, it was too much for them to be menacing after finding humans in sea. Shia thought of breaking the volatile situation by answering in place of Hajime. Please calm down. We are silent rabbit man tribe like you shouldn't not open her mouth. A rabbit man tribe's position was low even among the deming human race outside the sea of tribe. How they were strangely agitated and how they stubbornly wanted Hajime, who looked down on them from their point of view, to answer their might also would be a factor. Changing the target of his spear, the man grandly thrust his spear at Shia. The attack of the Sea-Dweller tribe would not pass through Shia's defense with her strengthened body. The thrust spear would only shallow cut Shia's cheeks even if she didn't dodge it. The man probably wanted to slightly hurt her to give Hajime a warning. As expected, the party felt it was abnormal. After all, the Sea-Dweller tribe wasn't that fierce. However, that was a bad move no matter what their circumstances were. No matter if it was for a warning, Hajime could not let go of those who tried to hurt Shia. In the moment, huge killing intent and pressure poured down like a huge cataract, spreading on the sea surface like a ripple, causing the rough waves. Boom! With his eyes opened wide, the man who was staring at Hajime suddenly changed, was blown away from his spot, accompanied by a loud sound. He bounced several times on the surface of the sea, flew while spinning, and finally sank into the sea. With a dumbfounded expressions, the remaining Sea-Dweller tribe members moved their gaze from the blond man to Hajime, who somehow was gripping a tail of large roasted fish with a pose of someone having done a full golf swing. The splashing seawater was sparkling as it reflected the sunlight. Even the eyes of the dead fish were somehow shining. The Sea-Dweller tribe's members were flustered. Shouldering the somewhat eaten fish, Hajime glared at the man beside the blown away man. Needless to say, having received a pressure he never felt before, the man of the Sea-Dweller tribe thrust his spear while shouting as he panicked from being glared by Hajime. Zia! Even in all men's life until now, it was an attack that satisfied him the most. Having premonition of that, he instinctively did a sure kill attack. However, a sure kill attack pierced into the mouth of the white-eyed fish and was easily stopped. What? How? When Hajime swung the fish, the man was dumbfounded after seeing the unbelievable spectacle, and thus the spear was easily snatched. The swinging momentum made by the spear fly out from the fish's mouth, directly hitting the face of another person of the Sea-Dweller tribe. Leering at the person from the Sea-Dweller tribe who groaned as the blood gushed out from his bleeding nose, Hajime once again swung fish. The man whose spear was taken and thrown away had cramped cheeks because of the nonsensical scene of the white-eyed fish approaching his face with his open mouth and somehow shining in bright red. Then, bam! He was blown away just like the man earlier. Munch, munch. Gulp. Now then, I actually don't want to fight against the Sea-Dweller tribe. As such, why don't we calm down and have a talk here? However, indeed, I can't stay silent if someone tries to hurt my companion. The pupil blown away wouldn't die because I held back, okay? With the limp of the fish in one hand, which lost its shine, Hajime proposed after deactivating its pressure. Hajime himself didn't really want to fight the Sea Dealer tribe people who were the same tribe as Mio. Although the others had tried to kill him, he actually didn't even see them as a neighborhood uncle, totally ignoring them. However, the Sea Dealer tribe didn't seem to accept his proposal. It was because their pride seemed to be somewhat damaged by Hajime, who looked down at them, expressing, "You are not even a match." Even though humans were at disadvantageous position in the sea, he had blown away their comrades, even though he said they didn't die. Moreover, because of their abnormally high alert against the human race, they could not trust Hajime's words at all. We must not let our guard down. They took the distance from the Hajime party and took a stance ready to throw out the short harpoon from their backs. I see. It's not enough to kidnap that child, huh? That's why you come here to kidnap other children of ours. We won't give you the time to cast any magic. The sea is our territory. Don't you think you can return unhurt? We will make you spit that child's location even if we need to chop your limbs.
You beg me to come with you. I don't know, I'm fine without you. You beg me to come with you. I don't know, I'm fine without you.